you today. I'm delighted about this opportunity, and I'm humbled to be in the presence of such a critical group of people to our overall university success. So why am I here? So it's a funny story. When I first arrived at the university, I had the opportunity to meet, and they had a list of people that I had to meet with, and the Dean of Arts and Sciences was on that list. And at that particular moment in time, Catherine was the administrative assistant there, and so she cornered me as I was leaving, and she said, I just have one question for you. Would you be willing to speak with our group? And I said, absolutely, positively, and here's why. I had never seen someone so quickly communicate so eloquently what this group was all about, why she believed in all of you and what you do. Her enthusiasm and dedication to you and to the university made it just really simple for me to be able to say, yes, I'm here. So thank you very much on behalf of all of these people for everything that you've done. And thank you for all you continue to do to help me stay sane. I'm just sorry it took me so long to get here, because I know that I've been here a little while and it's just been tough with the scheduling to get here. So today, a couple things that I asked, so what would you all like to hear about? And the list is kind of simple. What senior leaders need from administrative professionals, professional development opportunities at the university, what's going on with their compensation classification project, and then I'd like to open it up for questions and answers that you all might have regarding any topic that I can answer. I can't say this enough, and I'll probably say it about 10 times today. I truly want to acknowledge the important role that you play across the university and the role that you have. Oftentimes, I'm sure it doesn't feel like that. But I know personally, and I know from speaking with my peers, the importance that you are in our lives, both personally and professionally. Some of you might already know this, but I grew up in northern Pennsylvania, and it was inbred in me to be of a service mindset, to be of service to others. Every chore I did with the thinking of, I'm going to do this to the best of my ability. I have 4 sisters and a brother, but my 4 sisters, of the 4 sisters, 3 of us went through what we called back then secretarial training, right? So we learned stenography, we learned how to operate the machine, we learned typing on a different kind of typewriter, and we had to proofread everything because back then we had correction tape. So we really thought this, of the 3 of us, we really thought this was our calling. This was how we were going to be of service. So as I went through this training and I went through the internship work associated with it, I really began to understand that this type of work does take a special type of person to do it. And you know, if you want to know what that special type of person looked like, next slide please. This is kind of what it was. For those of you that might be asking, is that you? The answer is no. But it certainly could have been. Today, the role of the administrative professional has changed drastically. Next slide, please. Looks a little bit more like this. I apologize for those of you that can't see it. The support you provide as an administrative professional is vital to the college's and unit's ability to achieve its goals and objectives. I'm going to repeat that because I don't think you hear it often enough. The support that you provide as an administrative professional is vital to your college or unit's ability to achieve their goals and objectives. Today, most senior managers expect you to have leadership and management skills in order to set your own administrative priorities. To do all of this successfully, you also have to be a strategic thinker. You have to create better ways to do your processes, and you have to be tactical, all at the same time. You are the only person with whom the senior manager can be themselves. You know their family. You know when they're in a good mood. You know when they're in a not so good mood. And like, you know without even being around them when that person might need a hug. Jillian's not here today, but she was my hugger extraordinaire. She always knew when I needed one, and she's now moved on and into a new position in our recruiting department, and I'm delighted for her, but I miss her terribly. There also needs to be a very strong level of trust between you and the person that you are supporting. And one of the things that I always find fascinating is flexibility. So this morning when I left my work, my husband said, "So what's on your plate today?" And I went through it all. And I heard Shay, my assistant, say to her husband, "So let me tell you what I'm doing today. Flexibility." Right? Because AJ might have a schedule and it might look like this, but then she might say, "Oops, there's a typo in page 4. Can you run over there and fix it?" And she did. So flexibility. Your role requires so much flexibility on a day-to-day basis. You might have your to-do list, your schedule of things you want to get done, and all it takes is one phone call for your whole day to be turned upside down. I don't think people really understand that. And I think as a professional group of people, you just say, "Yes, not a problem, I can get to that." And nobody really knows inside what's going on. Actually, it's super person skills. And it really takes a very unique, special person to be able to do this. Remember those 3 sisters I was telling you about, right? Well, my oldest sister, she decided that this profession, it was easier to be a nurse in critical care than it was to do this job. So that's where she went. She's a critical care nurse. I ended up in teaching and then in human resources, so you see how well I did. And then I have a 3rd sister who to this day is still doing the work. Actually, she is an executive assistant to the state of Pennsylvania Department of Corrections, so she goes and visits prisons along with people, right? So, but she stayed in it. And I wanted to spend a couple minutes talking about her because when I think about what it takes to do the work you do, she comes to mind for me. And she is my super person. I admire her for a lot of reasons, but most importantly, I admire her for how she handled and cared for her office staff when she was going through not 1, but 2 rounds of cancer. And so, remember, the critical care nurse, she's there. I'm there with my sister. The critical care nurse is crying. That's helpful, right? I'm pacing the floor, right? Because that's even more helpful. And my sister comes out of surgery, and she's fine now, by the way. She comes out of surgery, and she says, "Can you get me a phone?" And I said, "Yeah, do you want to call one of the kids?" She said, "No, I need to call work. I forgot something." and so when it comes, she just cares so deeply about the work she does, and she's so connected. When I scolded her, which sisters can do, and told her that she really needed to be focusing on herself and not her work, she just said, "I just need to take care of this one thing. It's just the one thing I have to take care of." And so, as I continued to watch and observe while she was in the hospital, one of the things I found fascinating about her being special and how special these people were to her was they drove over an hour to visit her in the hospital. And because we live in a very small town, they were driving up from Harrisburg, Pennsylvania to spend time with her. And as they would come in, they would share with me why she was so great at her job. And I would share with them that when they were talking about a different person than the one I grew up with. I was convinced of that. But she had basically, and she still is, I believe, the heart of that particular group, the core, the center. And she didn't even know it. And I think oftentimes because you are so service-oriented and you come from that giving nature, that supportive nature that you all have, that you forget about how important you are, and you forget about how critical you are, and you forget about that you're the core, the heart for a lot of people. Let me just share with you a couple of the ways in which they described my sister. Next slide, please. Self-starter. She goes above and beyond expectations, brings further solutions to addressed issues. Trusted partner, capable and reliable in blending multiple competing priorities. Trusted colleague who handles sensitive and confidential matters with the utmost of care. Mutual respect, critical for success. Mutual respect, that's not just one-way respect, that's mutual respect. Working in partnership as a team. Great at follow-through and solid judgment, prioritizing multiple projects and constituents. Identifying issues and, just as importantly, bringing forward solutions to those. Team player, embracing change and flexibility. Proactive, understanding and knowing what people need even before they do. Continual learner, keeping skills sharp, learning new technology and system. Basically what we're talking about is the face of the office. I did have to ask a couple of them if she had paid them off to help come up with these lists. And they just patted my arm and just assured me that I was very lucky. And as I thought about this list and thought about the job descriptions we often use for when we're recruiting, I thought of a very special group of people to me that I probably don't tell them how much I appreciated them enough. And this is the HR group that's over there at that table. Wade. Thank you for being here. It's nice to see your smiling faces. So when we think about the administrative professionals, and I'll just use the group that I get to partner with. They probably don't know this, so this will come as a surprise. The leadership team of human resources is pretty new, and we learned a lot just by watching our team, this team right here, interact. And they did it quietly, but they partnered together. We were down resources. They didn't hesitate to jump in, help each other out, back each other up, and they did it flawlessly, and they never complained, at least not to me. I can't verify what they said when they got home at night. But thank you from the bottom of my heart for all you do on a daily basis. Thank you for being here and being with us. We really appreciate it. I appreciate you. Next slide, please. So basically what we're talking about is that you all fill the role of jugglers and miracle workers on a daily basis. Just depends how you want to look at it. You're also mind readers, pretty much your superheroes. With all that is required on a daily routine, how do you find time to invest in the most important thing in your life, and that's you? So let's talk a little bit about that. It's important to remember that this is something you must do. You must find time, and you must take time to take care of you, to invest in you, and to invest, next slide please, in what you want to accomplish. I would encourage you to think of opportunities that you can identify for ongoing development that will help you reach your individual career goals. It is important to explore development opportunities that will give you experiences, skills, and perspective needed to reach your career aspirations. Your leaders, your managers will understand if you say, I'd like to take this course, I'd like to do this. They will. They will. They might at first panic, because remember how I described how critical you are to our success, but they will understand. Next page, please. There is actually a book out that's called Career Architect, and it talks about 70% of what we learn on the job. 20% is learned through feedback and working with observing the models, and 10% from learning or continuation of our training. So let me just spend a couple minutes talking about this. Don't be shy about looking for opportunities. Talk to your managers, talk to your supervisors, talk to your leaders. Let them know that you are interested in developing you. Be a life learner. So when we talk about people learn by doing, what I mean by that, we learn from experience and achieve mastery through practice. Experience is a difficult task to master. We learn more from making a mistake than from getting it right the first time. At least I do. I learn more from making a mistake than doing it right the first time. And believe me, I have had lots of mistakes done, even in the role I'm in. And Jen's shaking her head, yes, you have. But I'm serious. We often are very critical of ourselves when we make a mistake. I would ask you to coach each other and to mentor each other. It's like, I made a mistake. Did you learn something from it? If the answer is yes, good for you. Good for you. I wish we were more open to people making mistakes and helping them through that. Some examples of learning from experience are get involved in different projects, ask for project work, lead something, lead a project team, lead an implementation of something, do some community service, ask for some stretch assignments, see if there's something you can do that's outside of the scope. Do some job shadowing. Anyone who ever wants to job shadow me is more than welcome. And do there's some experiential learning opportunities that you can also go through. So that takes care of learning by doing. People also learn with and through others. And this is when I was talking about the HR group. They learned with and through each other. It was just amazing for me to watch from afar. We have to make sure, though, that the environment that we're in encourages conversation, encourages people to say, let us talk about what we're going through. Now, that's more difficult. One of the things that was interesting, I had the opportunity to meet Ed Funai's assistant today, and she and I have been communicating email for about a week and a half. And you know, that picture I showed you of me way back when, that wasn't really me. We didn't have email back then, just to kind of put things in perspective, so we had to call. And I've just realized, I used to be able to get to know people by their voice, and it's really hard to do that through email. So that's why the conversation piece of this is truly important. Examples of this are professional memberships, such as this. What else can you join? How else can you learn from other people? Feedback and coaching. Ask for feedback on how you're doing. Ask for coaching on what more you can do. Ask for mentoring opportunities and offer mentoring opportunities. I look around the room and I see so many opportunities for us to learn and grow from each other and with each other. Also, look for and share webinars, any other learning opportunities that are out there. Then also, people learn through training. In order for formal training to truly take hold, it needs to be reinforced, reflected on, and applied. So if you're going to go learn something, apply it. Make sure it's something that's applicable. How many of you like Excel? Yeah, I know. Shay and I are having this conversation. I love Excel. I love it. I don't know why I love Excel. She keeps telling me we can do those I can do that in Word just as easy, and I keep saying, but I like Excel. But I can do that in Word, but I like Excel. So I do an Excel, and she transfers it into Word. It's working really well. So application, reflection, and then just taking the time to really, really think about what kind of certifications or recertifications work for you. Also, are there any online or classes that you can take? What's out there? Also, manager development. We have this manager development through Human Resources. We have online courses through the university. There are workshops that you can attend. There's a learning and development website that has a ton of information out there. What conferences can you attend? Lots of opportunities. Next slide, please. But you got to remember to take care of you. Also, one thing I want to talk a little bit about are development grants. How many of you have heard of the development grants that are out there? Terrific. Spread the word because it's been renewed for another year. Grants are available to participate in workshops, programs, seminars, conferences, or other opportunities held not just at the university, but anywhere. I don't think we'll send you to Hawaii. I'm just telling you that. This is a competitive application process, and many applications are received and reviewed by a selection committee. The grants are awarded based on available funds on the following. You have to have a complete application. It has to include the required budget information with appropriate documentation to support it. So it doesn't, I'm not saying you have to pay for all this yourself. I'm saying there's other opportunities and other ways to fund it. We're putting more money into that grant this year. So we're going to continue to see and find ways to help grow and develop our internal people as best as we can. you want to learn more about the staff career development grant program, you can visit HR at OSU. I think it's up here. Yep, at HR at OSU.edu. Also mentors. How many of you have a mentor? Get one. Find one. They're wonderful. They're like having the best friend of your life, but they do it from a professional perspective. I have 3. I'm asking one to no longer be my mentor because I didn't like the coaching I got last week, but I'm working through it. But we're working on it. But seriously, I have mentors for different things. One helps me to be a better coach to my peers. One helps me to be a better leader for human resources. And one helps me to just be a better person in my life. I have 6 children ranging in age from 20 to 35. I also do drink wine on occasion. Just to let you know. So other things that we're working on, next slide please, to help, I want to spend some time talking about another thing we're working on to help grow and develop our people, and that's our Comp and Class project. The intent of this project is to redesign, streamline, and bring consistency to classification and compensation for staff across the university. That does include the Wexner Medical Center. This project is currently in the job design and analysis phase, which is very complicated and time-consuming. It's very complex. This is where the new job descriptions are being developed. And this is across the university, as I said. And we're doing it in partnership with people who are specialists in the particular areas, so it's not HR going off and doing this on their own. We're doing it in partnership with the people from technology who say, yes, I do this job. From benefits who say, yes, I do this job. So we're going to continue to partner with people to help us to do that. And it'll be done on a functional basis, so we're taking function by function and creating it. Administrative support is on that list. We're going to start it near the end of 2015. And this will be a great group for us to tap the wisdom of, to say, okay, help us with the job classification and the job design. But we want to make sure we have consistency across the entire campus about what a person does here, a person should do there. So that way, number one, we're not hopping somewhere else to get more money, right? Because they don't value me as much here. We want to make sure everybody's valued the same way everywhere. And so the bands will be much more similar, so that you don't have to think about how do I, because I love my job, so how do I stay in my job and continue to grow and develop? So that's our plan right there. The timing on this thing, it is a long project. We anticipate it'll take till 2017 to be fully implemented across campus. So we're starting with nothing, and we're building it function by function by function. When we talk about implementation, why that's so complicated is it's updating policies and procedures, implementing new jobs and new salary structures, providing training for managers, staff, and HR professionals that are going to be helping us to implement it. So as I said, we'll probably reach out to this group to ask for help in making that happen. Next slide, please. So the role of the administrative professional is critical, is critically important to our success. Again, you play a critical and important role, and I don't know if you know how important it is. Hopefully I've helped you understand that a little bit better today. Your own career path is in your hands. I want you to feel empowered to go off and make something happen for you. And if you would like a mentor and you don't know how to find one, you let me know, and I'll be glad to help connect you to somebody that can help you figure out what it is you're looking for. Next slide, please. So I wanted to save some time. I like that. Thank you. So I want to save some time for question and answers. So what questions can I answer for you? This is your chance to ask. Anything that's legal and moral.
Is that your dog?
That is not my dog. I have a cat, but it looks very similar. Yes?
So keeping in mind the priorities of the university, can you identify some areas where we should be getting some professional development, some training, maybe some topics that you think would be very relevant at this point?
That's a very good question. So the question for those of you that could not hear it was around where should you all be focusing? That's a great question. I do think there's going to be a lot of change happening at the university. I do think that we're going to look for better ways to do things. So process improvement. So change and process improvement. Your teams, the people you're with every day, are going to start to feel more stress. I know when Shay is stressed, it makes me stressed. So managing change, managing stress, because like I said, you are our lifeline a lot of times. You're the little piece of sanity that we have sometimes in a crazy world. So the more you can get yourself grounded in what it takes to live through a change management process, learn how to do that. What it takes for process improvement, learn how to do that. Proactively think about ways in which you can improve the way in which you do things. That would be extremely helpful, I think, for all of us across the university. Thank you. Other questions? Yes?
With the process improvement across the university, would travel be under that, in that list? The process for coordinating travel and paying for travel?
That would probably be a good place to start. She asked if travel would be something that we should look at as different ways to do things. And I said, yes, it probably would be a good thing to look at. How do we travel? Who do we use? Why do we do that? And curiosity, I think, is key. So the more we can stay curious about why we've done things, because doing it the way it's always been done probably isn't going to cut it for the future. What we're going to have to do is find new ways and better ways to make things happen. Remember, when I was sitting at that desk working on that typewriter, I was darn good at it, right? I mean, I won't tell you what I could type a minute, but I was pretty fast. I was at the top of my class, actually, because I'm an overachiever. So I already was at the top, right? But today, if I kept doing things that way, imagine where I'd be, right? So we have to look for new and different ways to make things happen. And it's not about eliminating things. It's just about, well, we have to stop doing things, but it's about working smarter, not harder. I was meeting with a candidate this morning, and one of the things we were talking about was work-life balance, and I laughed. And he said, those electronic gadgets are causing problems, aren't they? And I said, yes, they are. And he said, well, shadow of the leader is really important, so set boundaries. And so that was good coaching for me. So we just have to be mindful of, it's not about working harder, it's about working smarter and balancing our lives. Yes, Jen?
What is your advice for change, like going through change? Like, how do you handle it? What is your advice to this group about how to handle change?
So the question was, how do we handle change? What's my advice? So be gentle on yourselves is number one. Every human being goes through what I call an emotional cycle with every change, positive change or not so positive change. Give yourself permission to go through that cycle. Give yourself permission to be afraid. Give yourself permission to say, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? Just be gentle on yourselves and then say, okay, so it's a new way of doing things. It's a change. How do I get through it and move on to make it happen? Because I need to be part of the solution. And holding on to the past isn't always helpful. And so the sooner you can get out of what I call, as soon as I get out of the valley of despair where I'm saying, I can't believe this is happening, this is a really bad idea, why would they want to do it this way? I give myself I actually do, I put myself in my room, And I close the door and I take 10 minutes and I just vent. This is dumb. This is really dumb. I can't believe that anybody would think this is a good idea. What were they thinking? Right? If there had been different people in the room, we might have had a different decision. So I go through all these different things about why I think this is a really dumb idea. And then I think about, okay, how can I help to be part of the solution and encourage things to change? See, because if I'm sitting at the table and I'm saying, this is a really dumb idea, sooner or later they're going to stop listening to me. If I say, okay, I understand where you want to go, are you open to changing this little piece, tweaking it this little way to make something else happen there? That's easier to handle. So I don't do it perfectly, but when I do it, that's how I handle it. And then I celebrate. When we get there, I try and celebrate the little wins. I also have a stress candle on my desk that I keep and lotion. I like this a lot. What else? Questions? Yes,
I have a question. I'm glad that you mentioned about taking care of yourself, and when you're in a position where somebody in authority is not doing that, so like right now, everybody in my office is sick, and because they've all been doing that, I come in on Monday morning and they're, oh, I spent all weekend working on this proposal, but they're the people in positions of authority, and for me to just say, well, you need to spend some time caring for yourself, you're not helping anybody by doing this. Can you think of any buzzwords that the elevator spiel on how to make somebody actually follow that advice?
Yeah. So people get stuck in habits.
Yeah.
And badges of courage are working weekends. And I'm guaranteed a job if I'm here 7 days a week, because they'll need me. What I need is I need you to be healthy. And so that's not what you say. I think, I know for me, someone just saying, how are you doing? Stops and makes me think, I'm doing great. Now, how are you really doing? Right? And I think the people over in my office can tell just by my tone when I say hi. Like Jen, her office is in the corner there, so I'll pick on Jen. When I walk past and I say, hi Jen, how's it going? She knows, we're in a good spot. When I walk past, she goes, hi AJ, go hi. It's like, okay, today's not a good day. And so when you notice it, what you can say to trigger might just be, how are you doing? Now, how are you really doing? How about all of you? How do you help? Because this is a great question and I don't have the answer. Yes?
My previous manager was that kind of workaholic, and she would oftentimes, and
you might need to stand up so they can hear you.
My previous manager, she was a woman, and she was a workaholic, and she would always work harder than everybody else, and felt like as a woman she needed to do that. But I would suggest to her on those days when I just didn't want to catch whatever she had, that she work from home. Just even if your door's closed, nobody knows if you're in there or if you're at home, but you're still getting your work done, you're still answering emails. If you feel like you have to keep going, you can do it virtually at home. So occasionally she would take that advice, but a lot of times she would just come in and we would all eventually end up suffering from whatever it is she had.
I think whenever here's a magical question for you. Can I ask a question or can I offer you some feedback?
Yes.
And once they say yes, right? Once they say yes, then that's opened the door for you to be able to say, I think maybe you might want to think about going home today because I think you might feel better there. Right? Actually, I'll feel better there, but you can't say that to yourself. That's the self-conversation. That's not the outside conversation. Other thoughts? What do you guys do?
AJ.
Yes. Juan.
One of the things, can you hear me? One of the things that I think is good, and I've been around the university for a long time, is that we not only manage their daily schedules, their meetings, and scheduling can be headache, but we also in a little ways manage their lives. And right now my boss has 2 small children, so this is Friday evening, no, you are not working late. It's pizza night, you're going home. And I think that we have to be comfortable, like you said, comfortable with the people that we support, and do it in the right way, but in little small ways, just be able to advise them. And I like what you said, you know, ask them, can I offer you some advice? Once that door, you only have to open that door once for me.
Yep.
Then you're gonna get the advice ongoing, but I think that's so key. If they are not feeling well or sick, don't load up their schedule that day. No, they're not available. I will schedule time on Mike's calendar just because I know he's working on something intense and he needs that time to think through it. Or if he's not feeling well, which he's fairly healthy, he usually checks me on the health regard, but if he's not feeling well, then that's not the day to load up his schedule. And
Yes,
I think
ma'am.
we just have to be cognitive of that.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
I, like you, will load up with fake hope meetings. And at the last minute, I don't need that after all. So now you have free time. Or, are you okay? You look really tired.
You look sick. Yeah.
You look really tired. Can't.
Yes, Catherine.
I have a question. I know that people like Cindy Silver and folks in your office do a lot of onboarding and coaching of our executives. What are they hearing from those folks that they're working with when they're either hiring a person or if there might be, working out a new relationship? What are the things they really value? Or are there things that they're saying, I really wish my assistant would fill in the blank?
Yeah, so I'll answer that at a high level. I think today the list looks very similar to the list I shared with all of you today. I think they need someone to truly help them be successful. And I say that and I mean it, help them be successful. Because if they fail at something, the first person they look at is you. Well, why didn't I know about that? Well, nobody told me I was supposed to go. I missed a meeting. What happened? And then it looks, then it's you. And then you start to go through this panic thing because I see it on Shay's face when it happens. It's like, oh my gosh, how did this happen, right? And then your own stress level builds up. So I think what you would hear is that list. It's more than just being someone who's there to support, I guess. It's not just about the email comes in, they want a meeting, you set up the meeting. It's about being a true partner. And to Vaughn's point about the pizza night, it is building that relationship where you feel comfortable enough to say, it's pizza night. And sometimes it's all you have to say, is it's pizza night. Or you can say it's pizza night for me. Because Shay and I are in this little thing right now where, Shay believes she needs to stay until I leave. Well, that's not healthy for Shay. And she says, what her answer to me is, well, it's not healthy for you either. So, any of you know Shay? Okay, Shay's stubborn. She would be okay with me saying that, it's on tape. So she knows. I'm more stubborn than Shay. And so, I'm not sure how this is going to end, but I have been leaving earlier, just in case you're wondering, so that I can get Shay out the door. And so, it's having that kind of a relationship, because it is more of a partnership than it is, I work for you, I work with you, you work with me, you don't work for me, you work with me. And I think if we all came from that perspective, it's a partnership. Think about a significant other or spouse, it's pretty similar, except you go home to different places. Does that help? I know it doesn't answer it all the way.
No, it does.
Okay. I think I have time for one more, if there's one more.
Thank you.
Yes.
Because we are so service-oriented in giving to our supervisors and giving to our coworkers and our families, and we often don't give to ourselves, like you mentioned. On our journey towards giving to ourselves, how would you advise us, there are different offices on campus that could be completely different night and day.
Right.
From the med center to the university, and we do value in education, being a university. But unfortunately, I do know that there are some offices that unfortunately don't value their staff members to be able to do professional development. How would you advise an administrative professional to, work towards that in an office of that, with that problem?
Yes, so how do I ask my manager / boss that to go off and do this development was the question when they're really not open to it. I have two things to think about. First off, when Shay or Jillian would come into the office, they say, I want to go do this, I would panic. I really would, because it would be like, oh my gosh, like Shay runs marathons, right? I know her marathon schedule because I have to schedule my life around when she's not going to be there. I'm going on vacation when she's on vacation. So the panic, the reaction I think you initially get is panic, because you're the right hand of that person, and they don't always say it, but I think they begin to feel it. So what I always say is, and what we worked out is Shay will come in and say, okay, so I'm going to be gone these days. This is my backup. This is how I'm arranging things. Everything will be taken care of when I'm gone. And so I think what you need to think about is when you go off and do these development opportunities, it's, I'm going to go ahead and do this. Here's what I'd like to do. Here's what I've done to support you while I'm gone. So if you have that, that's hard to argue with. That's number one. Number two, how many of you understand our health and wellness programs that we have on campus, right? Yeah? So if we don't stay healthy, our health care goes up, right? And so as we're all working, this is my favorite new line, as we're all working for ways to cut down on our costs for health care, I'm going to go walk around the Oval. Right? So don't hesitate to say, I need to stay healthy. HR is putting out all these statistics. I need to go walk on the Oval. And I'm laughing that we have Fitbit contests at Brooker, right? Everybody has a Fitbit, mine's right here. And then we'll look at it and we'll check everybody out to see where we are. But it's our way of keeping each other healthy and staying focused on, as much as we can, being more balanced and taking care of ourselves. And so join a group that you work with. Find someone, even if it's one person, who also is interested in staying healthy. And say, okay, what can we do to relieve stress for each other and with each other?
Don't be friends with Shay.
But you never be friends with Shay. No, Shay is not a good friend on Fitbit. So my competition, I've given up on that one. She has like 140,000 steps a week, just to let you know. That's because she's going to the marathon. One more slide, please. In closing, what I would like to share with you is just a quote. Appreciate everything your associates do for the business. Nothing else can quite substitute for a few well-chosen, well-timed, sincere words of praise. They're absolutely free and worth a fortune. That's what Sam Walton will quote. And so I just thought it was a good opportunity on the behalf of my peers, my colleagues across the university, across the campus. Thank you, thank you, thank you.